Welcome to the Daily B Show, episode 118 with Gideon Shalwick. The Daily B Show, we're here to help you believe, express, and evolve your greatness. And Gideon is here to share specifically the impact, or the impact he's having, and the difference it's been in his life, really following his passion to impact the world. So, Gideon, thanks for joining us, mate.
You're very welcome. I'm really pleased to be here and looking forward to this.
Yeah, fantastic. It's and same here. We've connected really quickly just last week, or the week before maybe, but yeah, it hasn't been long, and we came into each other's lives with a bit of a whirlwind. So
Yeah.
just the synchronicities. But before we get into that, can you share a little bit about sort of what you're doing at the moment, the last few months, what's been happening, and the impact you're having, and just for those that don't know you and want to know a little bit more.
Sure. It's been a very, very busy year, Matt, but a good kind of busy. The beginning, it was not as good because, it was good and not good because, well, about a year ago, we had our third child,
Wow.
little boy. And at the same time, I was starting up a new business as well.
Okay.
And so it was all happening, And so the start of the year actually was a little bit rocky for me. I actually got pretty sick at the beginning of the year. But since then, we've been able to. Our child has been able to turn one. We survived that. He survived that. And our little business has been born as well and been growing a lot this year. So it's been a very, very exciting year. And the business is about, it's in the video space, and it's about helping people use their voice, and to get it out there and to get seen, to really get seen and be able to express themselves specifically on videos. We've created like a service that basically takes your video, we transcribe it, add captions, put it in a really nice sort of format that you can then publish straight onto social media. And the whole idea of it is to help get all the friction out of the way for you so that you can get your voice out there, so you can get your message out there. So we do that through, the company that I'm working on now called Splaseo.
Splaseo, cool name.
Splaseo. Yeah. So, and it's so funny, man. You're talking about synchronicities with just the name, the whole imagery there with water. When I first came up with the name, I did not think about that. This was like 7 years ago when I had the first version of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So this version of the business is only like a year old now. But the name Splaseo, we talked about making an impact, right? If you think about Splaseo, that's like making your splash, or if you think about like how I think Buckminster Fuller talks about how, making an impact is kind of similar to, dropping a little pebble into a pond, and then making a splash and making the waves going 90 degrees to your direction of travel. Well, that's exactly what the imagery is that we have now for Splaseo as well. In fact, when you log into the members area, you see a little bunch of circles that looks like a ripple effect on water. But yeah, so that's what I've been busy with this year, man. I've just been focusing on that and spending lots of time with the family, not much time for anything else. So it's been a fun year.
Well, it's amazing. Like, there's so many people that just want to get all their ducks aligned and want to just wait until certain things align for them before taking action. But it's like, bam, start a business. Bam, have another baby. Bam, just get it all done. That's it. And it's like, yeah, you can really
do it all at once.
You really goes to show you how much one person can handle. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think I handle it very well, especially at the beginning, because we went from 2 children to 3 children, right? And then starting a new business as well. It was, and then, little Jack, our little boy, he was born in September. And then, soon after was school holidays as well. So all the kids are home. My home office is at home as well. That's why it's a home office. But, and so actually that was really interesting because that added a lot of stress, or I added a lot of stress to myself, right? Like stress is always an internally caused, well, not always, but it seems most of the time. And so, because of that, I got really worn out, and around about February, start of the year, I just got really sick. Okay. So, I'm not sure if it's always a good thing to overload yourself like this. And in this particular case, it's just how it happened. It wasn't planned. Really, I wanted to actually launch the business before little Jack was born, but I didn't quite get around to it. And so it meant that I had to launch it afterwards.
So could you mind maybe going into a little bit more depth around some of the things that happened, maybe the decisions you made, or just the way life unfolded that created and caused a lot of maybe tension or bits of pain that you had to work through back then? Because I mean, people do see people like yourself come on the show and on different shows and doing their stuff when they're up in the lights and things are going fantastic. But a lot of the time, what doesn't get seen is that pain and heartache of life's day-to-day grind to get to that point. So just for the sake of really keeping it real, to show what really expressing yourself looks like, could you share a little bit more about that as well?
It was tough as heck, man. I mean, the other thing I didn't even mention that I also did was I exited from my previous company, a company called V-Roll. So I spent about 4.5 years in that company, and that was a software company. I had some co-founders in Singapore. We created software that would automate the production of video ads on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And so it was a very, very intense business. And so at the start of this year as well, I exited that business just as I was starting out. And so all these things happening at the same time it really took it out of me. And it was very stressful, but I guess I just kept on. I mean, what option do you have? Like, I read a really cool little book once called The Magic Story, and it talked about basically the only time when you're really when you've lost is basically when you're in the grave. You know, when you're not in the grave, you always have an opportunity to do something else and to do something better or to improve or to do the next thing or to try again. Yeah. And I think that's how it was for me. I wasn't dead yet, so I could still do something, I could still try again or whatever. And that's what I did. I took one step at a time, man. And took it easy. When I was sick, I was out for about 4 or 5 weeks. Oh, wow. And I got shingles, man. It was no fun. Seriously, I had to.
So that's fatigue and just like way too much, just overload and stress and strain really that forms that, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally, man. And oftentimes from stress. I mean, probably most of your diseases are from too much stress anyway. So if you cut out all the stress, eat healthy and exercise, then you're probably going to be, pretty much okay in general. There's some simple things you can do to sort of limit that stress or relieve it. I think, but sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you can't. Like the situation we had was like going from 2 kids to 3. I mean, what do? You can't like get rid of one of your kids, right? So, what we did though is we did have a demi pair, which is kind of like an au pair. So it was someone who stayed with us, a young lady from Switzerland, and she did about 20 hours work for us every week, and so that just took the pressure off a bit as well. Where after dinner she would clean up, for example, or just before dinner she'd play with the kids a little bit. So that definitely helped. Obviously, my parents were close by as well, so they can help too. And I think just having a network of other peers or friends who are doing something similar, like other entrepreneurs, that was really useful to be able to just have someone there that you could talk to, or if they've been through something similar, they could support you. When I became unwell, it was just amazing to have, like, I could see my true friends coming through when I was really unwell. The people who showed up then was, people that I could tell who are my real friends. That's it just happens, and you just keep going. I mean, like I said, if you're not on the grave yet, you can still try. You can still keep going.
Hell yeah! I think the way it was framed to me was more so about failure as well. Is if things aren't going well, or it's stressful, straining, or you're uncertain about things, the only failure is giving up or quitting, or basically putting yourself in the grave, essentially. And as long as you don't do that, as long as you do exactly what you said, just keep taking one step forwards. There's always opportunities there. Always opportunities.
Yeah.
You don't know what's around the next corner as well, which
you don't, and you learn with everything, right? And I think sometimes it's okay to take a break. That's more than fine to take a break. Like taking a break is not quitting. Even quitting is not really quitting. I mean, if you like, for me, quitting is when you go and lie in bed and basically ready to die. That's it. You give up on life. And so I think as long as you're alive, you still have a chance to do something amazing. And it's such a gift to be alive. Like I was having a chat to a friend of mine who just lost his father recently, and it just reminded me again about how extremely tiny a slither of life that exists in the big scope of things. If you think about all life that has been and all life that potentially could still be in the future, we're this extremely fine little line in the middle that we call life right now. So just think about that. Like we're this tiny little slither of I don't know, presence, I guess, that we call life.
Yeah.
And beyond it, like ahead of it, there's death, when you die, there's death. Or looking back, there's death, right? Everybody's died already, in the past. And looking forward, no one's been, those people haven't been born yet, or those beings haven't been born yet. So we're here now, and we have breath in our lives right now, and we can do something with it, while we're here. Yeah. And I think that's a wonderful gift. It's really, I think when you look at it in perspective like that, you realize, wow, it's actually mind blowing that it's actually very unusual for us to be alive. Put it that way. Yeah. It's extremely unusual. Like you think about it, like it's, why don't we live forever? For example, and why, like in terms of percentage wise, it's just we're such a small percentage of people who have the opportunity, like who has ever existed, but who are alive right now. You get what I'm saying, right? It's like it's actually crazy, and we're not going to be here for very long. So
there was a video that Gary Vaynerchuk he did a while back now, but I remember when I was going through some tough times, I'd always put it on. It was only maybe 2 or 3 minutes long, but essentially it was touching on this and just really facing our mortality. And it's like, you've got 1 in 400 trillion chance of even being alive. So what the fuck are you complaining about? Like get right on with it. And I think that's a pattern that I notice in people that really do have that bigger sense of passion and drive within them, and people that are willing to take bigger risks or just make it seem like they're making the most out of their days, is they've got that really big picture perspective as well. They've faced their mortality. They can see things from that higher view. But when people are really in the depths of depression or anxiety, or these really heavy, tough spaces in life, it's almost like they're really in the micro of it all, in the right here, the right now, without any bigger perspective on what reality is in life and the gifts that we've actually got here in front of us.
Yeah, no, totally, and it's true, man. Like being able to have that perspective, but like you're saying, when you're stuck in that difficult place, it's you can't just say, oh, just get perspective. That it is actually tough. I think that's worth recognizing that it is. It can be really tough, and but I think what one realization to have is that toughness is not going to last either. Like just like everything else, nothing lasts, right? Nothing at all that we are aware of lasts forever. And so even being sick or being unwell or being depressed, that doesn't last forever. And so if you could just see that as a relatively small window within the bigger perspective of your own life, then I think it becomes easier to go, okay, this is just temporary. It's not forever. Yeah. And there's going to be a way out of it at some point. And then I think it's just a case of believing that things will get better. And but not just believing, also then taking the actions that are needed to move out of that. And it's little things, little things at a time that I found. Like every time I've been stuck in a situation like that, I've been in quite depressed states in the past, and the only ways out of it is through small actions consistently. Like just do one little thing, at a time, and just start getting some small wins, and that helps you push through that. I mean, before you know it, it's almost like Napoleon Hill talks about, the lights slowly being turned on in a movie theater, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's like, hey, everything, you can see everything now, you can see everyone around you. So, and I think that happens through taking those actions. There's having that belief, but then also taking those actions a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I think like it is that wave as well. Like we go up and down. I recognize that with each time. Well, and especially when you're actually conscious of the process, when you become conscious that, okay, I have ups and I have downs now, and you can observe yourself going down. Sorry, I just lost. We can observe ourselves going down, and then observe what we do coming out of it as well. That cycle becomes a little bit more predictable, I think, and so you can. I wouldn't say like you enjoy the downturns in life, but you can actually go through them without so much weight being on them, I find as well. So I think those little things, like those little belief systems as well, like just like this won't last forever, like it's easy to say again while we've gone through it, we've experienced it now a few times through those cycles. But especially for young people as well who haven't lived a long life, that it feels like this is going to be forever.
Yeah.
When you can really hold on to those little nuggets of belief, I think that's a massive game changer as well.
Yeah, and another way also to look at it is that it's like a game, the game of life, where for you to be able to graduate to the next level, you have to go through some sort of a challenge, and you have to. It's like a test that you've got to pass, and you can't move to the next level unless you pass. So these challenges get put in front of us for a reason, so that we can grow.
Yeah.
For me, it's like a you're probably familiar with, I'm sure you are, with the hero's journey with Joseph Campbell's work, right? And where it's a circle. But I think what I've noticed is that it's actually that's just one dimension. If you turn the circle on its side, and then add more circles that are sort of going up and bigger, you end up with a spiral. And so I see our lives as a series of the hero's journey, just repeating itself over and over again. But as you graduate on different levels, it's just you can't graduate unless you go through that transformation. And that's what's interesting, with that hero's journey thing, is that you can't graduate, you can't move you can't finish the journey unless there's been a transformation. And guess what? There can't be a transformation unless there is a death and a resurrection. That's the whole point of the whole story, the whole journey. There has to be a death and a resurrection of maybe your previous self or whatever it is. And that's where the transformation happens. And that's not easy. You think about that. That's really painful to die, whether it's an ego or a part of you or a part of your psyche that you got to let go of. There's got to be something that you've got to let go of. And as you do that, that allows you to move on to the next stage and graduate. So it's pretty cool.
It's fucking awesome. I loved it. And it blew my mind wide open learning about this. And I've been badgering on about the hero's journey for people to get onto it. Because for me, awesome, it really did put into perspective what has happened in the past, where I'm at right now, and when things come up, like what stage of the journey I'm on. I love when people bring it up like that as well. But I'd love for you to share maybe an experience of yours that can really ground it for people as well, to share with them what that looks like what has tangibly happened that you used to be like, what you had to face what deep in the belly of the whale you had to go and battle within yourself, and then what you had to kill off, an aspect that literally had to die, and what was reborn out of that process. Because I think when you see it in real life, then that really makes sense for people too.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just trying to look for a word to express what this hero's journey thing is like. It's like, because it's you have a hero's journey every single day. You could have a hero's journey within an hour. You could have one within a minute. But then you also have it over your lifetime. It's fractals. That's the word I'm looking for. It's the hero's journey is a fractal, right? So there's hero's journeys within hero's journeys within hero's journeys. So and you only start seeing the bigger journeys as you get older. You start seeing the bigger circles, as you get older, the bigger fractals, I guess you could call them. And so I guess one big journey for me was one that just I guess the circle completed relatively recently, probably about 2 years ago. I was busy with a company, V-Roll, right? the one that I just exited at the start of this year. Busy building that up. Became very, very successful. We had a very quick rise in success, and but it was damn hard work. So I worked tirelessly every day, and didn't take much rest. I didn't look carefully about after what I was eating. I didn't spend time with family as much or friends. I was just working, and not just any kind of work. It was very stressful work. There were a few factors within that business that just made it really, really stressful.
Okay.
And after a while, I looked at myself, and I just realized that I was completely unhappy. And there's nothing that I was enjoying anymore. And actually, it's more than 2 years ago now, probably more like 3 years now. Trying to think, maybe even more. Let's say 3 years.
Just on that quickly, did you find yourself justifying really intently all the reasons to stay in that position? Like maybe before you became aware that you were so unhappy, or even potentially afterwards? Because I feel that's what I see people doing, is they say, I fucking hate this position, or this and this and this, but I need it for this and this, and they just justify.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's just, as a quick aside here, the dark side about the hero's journey that I found is that sometimes you get stuck on one of the stages, and you don't complete the journey, and you jump right back to the start of the journey.
Yes.
And you don't go through the transformation. And then you just go and get stuck at the same place again. And what can happen to a lot of people is that they keep on getting stuck and keep on jumping back out again. Yeah. And so you end up staying at base level. You never graduate. And that can be very, very frustrating, because it doesn't feel like you're showing any progress. Yeah. So I think either that, or you get stuck in the ordeal stage. Which is, where you have your big fight with the big dragon, right? This is, metaphorically, you can get stuck there as well, and just stay there as well, and that can be very horrible too, because you don't know what you need to do to be able to move on. And I think a part of the issue is stubbornness. Quite often, not always, but stubbornness, or I guess a stubbornness to see what you need to let go of, and what needs to change for you to be able to graduate.
Well, that's the whole fear. Like that's this, like the ego's sense of survival, not wanting to die. Our identity that we built over all these years, it's helped us survive up until that point. And
correct.
It's like the evil that I know is better than the one I don't. So I'd rather just continue on with this evil that I've got than kill it off for an unknown. Yeah. Which is nobody wants to die, or at least let me say, no ego wants to die. I think depending on your belief system, I mean, there's one train of thought, at least one belief, that where we, the true self doesn't die, it doesn't ever die, right? So there's no fear when you realize that true self. But the ego is very scared of dying. It doesn't want to die, and it can hold you in that sort of ordeal part of the journey. And so I was kind of stuck there for a while as well, in the ordeal stage. And but then I was there long enough to get completely burnt out. And one day we were successful financially, but everything else was starting to fall to pieces. And I remember looking at a little girl. Back then we only had our first child then, Lucy, and she was about maybe our second child was born already. I can't remember, but she was about 4 or 5 years old. And I was looking at her, and I was thinking, she's just having fun. She's having so much fun. She doesn't even have to think about it. Why can't I do it? Why can't I have fun like that again? Yeah. And then I realized that I didn't know how. Like, I'd forgotten how to have fun. Yeah. So I thought, bugger it, I'm going to interview her. So I said one day, Lucy, Daddy's got an important question for you. I'm struggling a bit here. I've forgotten how to have fun. Can you tell me how to have fun again? No shit.
And and she didn't even think about it. She just immediately said, she's like, went like this, Daddy, and she rolled her eyes. She said, obviously, you just play. That's all you just play, Daddy. And I thought, holy shit, okay.
How do I do that?
Yeah, and then that's my next question. Okay, so how do I play? And that was she didn't really have an answer for that, and I think the reason is because as kids you don't think about it, you just get into it, you don't think, you just do it, you just go and have fun. And and the other thing about kids is they turn everything into a game. Everything is a game. Like I'm watching our little 1-year-old now. It's so fun. It's so cute and so funny, but so interesting how quickly something can turn into a game. For example, he might experiment and bite me on my arm or something, just for the heck of it, because accident or whatever. And then I might go, ow, and then he would think that's funny and that's a joke. At that point, it's a game. Yeah. and then because it's fun, you want to repeat doing it. So he bite me again. So I had to figure out how to play again, and that put me on a whole new journey.
Yeah.
Of just getting back to, what is play for adults? How do you define play, and how to have fun again? And So part of it was definitely letting go of something. So there was a letting go of a part of me, but there was also letting go eventually of the business, because the business was killing me. Yeah. I had to let that go. It was it had to fall away for me to be able to move on properly. So that actually took quite a long time for the business part of it to completely fall away, but most of it fell away very quickly within 6 months, and then another 2 years or so before I could exit. But
can I jump in there with a question? Sure. With that as well? Would you say that, like we talk about expression before as well, like that internal dialogue and the way that you were being internally was being expressed externally by all these scenarios playing out the way they were. But when you actually became conscious of that, started to challenge it and identify different ways of being internally, then like externally, it's like, yes, I started making decisions, but essentially it started to match, by the sounds of it, your internal being as well. So as you started to transform internally, that state of playfulness and joy and wanting more of that within yourself, externally those things just started to fall away.
Yes, eventually. It didn't happen right away. I mean, there was what I did was at that particular time, I actually had what brought the big change upon me was we ran this big promotion for the company, and it was a very important promotion. There's a whole story behind that as well, but we don't have time for it right now. But big promotion. This promotion went terribly bad, terribly wrong. Yeah. And as a result of that, we had to lay off some people. And that was that was like the worst day of my entrepreneurial life. That was really, really terrible. I cried on that day because, and what triggered me was one of the people who has been working with me or for me for almost a decade at that point, in different companies and different scenarios. But at that particular point, I had to fire him from V-Roll or let him go, whatever the word is. That made me cry. I was so upset with it. And it wasn't just letting them go. I mean, that was obviously not a nice thing to do. It it's never nice to let people go. But what was painful was so I'm just not sure if you can still hear me, Matt. Can you?
Yeah, I gotcha.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think something's changed here. Let me just.
Can you hear me?
For some reason. I think my earphones just died. I am sorry about that. Let me just get some new earphones here. These ones have lost the connection.
You can borrow mine. I've got some.
Plug these in here. All right. Can you still hear me now?
Hello.
Well, the question is, can I hear you?
Let me see. You got me?
No, I've lost your sound, so that's going to be a bit difficult. Let me see what else I can do here.
If you want to jump off and then jump back on.
So yeah, I can't hear you anymore, I'm afraid. So let's try that. No, that's not working either. Gosh. Let's try these ones again. Maybe that'll come back. Hopefully they'll come back. Other way around. Technology. Okay, I think I can hear you again.
You got me?
Yes. I don't know what happened there. These earphones need checking.
We needed a break. Remember, it's okay to take a break.
A sponsor break. Okay, so where was I? Talking about my worst day. So I had this really, really terrible day, and I remember driving to work or riding to work on my little scooter that day. I had this massive release where I screamed at the universe, like really, really loud. It was on my scooter, so no one could hear me. Well, not that I know of, anyway. And I just basically screamed really, really loud, "F you, universe!" You know, it's like I was just so fed up with everything. And it was so loud that I couldn't speak for the rest of the day. My voice I lost my voice.
Primal scream to the max.
Yeah, it was crazy. And that's how frustrated I was, right? And this is that was the beginning of a part of me dying, which was, the part of the process. And then 3 days later, I have a shower. And while I'm in the shower, I have this, I don't know what to call it, like a download or what do you call it? Aha moment or some sort of an epiphany. Yes. And it was weird because it wasn't an epiphany in words. It was an epiphany in, I'm not even sure what it was feelings. It was just an epiphany in knowingness or something like, I don't know what to call it, man. It was like really crazy. But
language is limited. That's all right.
Sorry. Yeah, our language is limited for it. But the word or the idea that came to me after that I could put into words was that everything is energy, and you can't create it or destroy it, and that the only trouble was that I was mucking around with it. That we are able as human beings to limit that energy and how it flows, and that's where the trouble comes in. So that put me on this whole journey of figuring out play. And energy flow and how I could get my energy back.
Yeah.
After that point, really what I did was I wrote 2 lists. I wrote down all the activities that I was doing that was taking my energy away. And then I wrote a list of all the things that I was doing that was giving me energy. And it turned out to be completely unbalanced. Like I was, at the end of each day, I'd be drained with energy. So then I said, okay, how can I eliminate or diminish the ones that are draining my energy, and how can I increase the things that are giving me energy? I tell you, man, within a couple of days, 3 days or whatever, I was a different person just by doing that.
Wow.
I wasn't quite completely out of my burnout, but that gave me enough energy to just move above what I call threshold now, to be able to function like semi-normally again. And that put me on this whole journey, to figure out what is the key here. How do I create a life that I can be, where I can be doing what I love doing, be good at it, love doing it, be of service to the world, and where people love paying me for that service, and be happy at the same time as well, like all those things. And I actually developed this whole chart of 27 little sweet spots that you could adjust. Okay. But one of them had this play in it. That was like the first thing, play. I later on figured out that another way that we could call it as adults is flow, and getting into flow state. The way that Csikszentmihalyi talks about it in his amazing book called Flow. So that was very interesting. And so I had to figure out how to get back into flow, really. That was a big part of it, and how to turn things into a game again. Yeah. And it was a gradual process, but then, eventually my energy came back, and I started enjoying what I was doing again. My ideas came back again. Like, I'm an ideas person for like probably a 2-year period.
Yeah.
My ideas were not like I had zero ideas come to me.
Oh, wow.
As soon as my energy came back, boom, ideas started coming back again. And that's in fact where the main idea for what I'm doing in Splaseo now came from as well. That's one of the big main ideas that came back. As a result of that work. Yeah.
All right. And so it's interesting because the title of this is like how to like impact the world with your passion. But it's interesting the bulk of this conversation has been around going from almost like completely passionless and joyless, and what it takes to get to the point of even just finding that, or even realizing that that's a thing that you can do, and believing that you can create a lifestyle around that.
Right. Yeah, it's so easy, to fall into the trap of success and losing that balance, or getting out of flow. It's and your energy just slowly taps away or drains away, and then before you know it, you're burnt out. Like you've got no energy left. And that's really the definition for me. It's like when all your energy is gone, that's when you're burnt out. And then the cure is just to get your energy back again. It's actually really simple. But a lot of people don't realize that, and they stay in the burnout stage for a really long time. You can actually get out really, really quickly if it's just about energy. And it is different sorts of energy. And like this chart that I made of 27 little dials, they're all basically just different forms of energy. That you could dial in or dial out, and it's when they're all dialed in, it becomes like a kaleidoscope that it finally lets the light through. Just the light just wants to flow, but because we're blocking these little areas that our life can flow through, the light doesn't shine through, and it becomes something quite dark in a sense.
So can you elaborate on these 27 points? Like what where you got these from, and how they impacted you?
The first few just came to me, man. The other some of them were sort of through thinking a little bit. I journal a lot, so on my iPad. I don't have my iPad here, but basically, I scribbled a bunch of stuff. Every time an idea comes to me, I just scribble it down. Yeah. And this thing evolved over time. I've got about 400 pages of notes that I took, and it took me about over a year or two's time to scribble those out. But they're basically there's one main circle which is right in the middle, and everything else it basically captures everything else. And I struggled to find the right word for it, but the final word that ended up coming was the word power. Okay. But not in the sense that a lot of people would think it is. So not in the sense of political power or power to manipulate this sort of thing. No. It's the opposite of that. It's natural power, like the power that you see in nature, for example, like electricity. That's power. The way a wind blows, that's power. When a car accelerates and drives really fast, that's power. It's like when you think about the power that we see in nature, it's a very clean, pure, natural thing that's good. It's actually really good for you. Yeah. So that power, that kind of power, is made out of three things as it applies to our lives. First one is energy. So like so what was it now? Yeah, it was energy. And then there's just to take a step back, sorry, I might get a little bit technical here, but
that's right.
When you think about power, if you look at the sciences, there's basically an equation for power that says that power is equal to energy in motion. That's all it is. That's all that power is. It's energy moving, energy in flow. Mm-hmm. So you could even look at the universe and say, okay, the whole universe is made out of energy, right? And when you look deeper, you notice that everything is vibrating as well. So everything, energy, is moving constantly as well. So what we see in nature is a constant state of infinite power. It's all around us all the time. Yes. And this is from physics, it's science. I'm not coming up with this stuff myself, right? It's science. So the question is, if we are surrounded by infinite power all the time, why do we become so powerless so often, where our energy is really low and we feel like we can't do anything? Mm-hmm. Why does that happen? And the reason why it happens is because you've either stuffed something up with one of the two things, either with energy or with a flow of energy.
Yes.
So you need both to have power. You need energy, and you need to get that energy into motion. That's all it is. So that's what this image is about. So in the middle is power. Then you've got energy. And then the two next circles are how you make that energy move. So you use that energy for creating value. And then once you got the value, you leverage that value.
Okay.
And it becomes like it actually becomes like a self-fulfilling sort of a feedback loop, a process that just grows and grows and grows.
Okay.
Because as you work towards creating value and leveraging it, it creates more energy that becomes a new input to the original energy one, which then fuels the value creation more, which then fuels the leveraging more, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then each one of those three can be, you can say, well, okay, energy, what is that made of? So for energy, for example, if this is a long time since I looked at it, sorry, but
That's all right.
Basically something like your personal energy, right? So your physical energy. So how well you eat, what you drink, how well you sleep, this sort of thing, how much natural light you get, all this sort of stuff that contributes to your physical energy. Mm-hmm. That's physical. Then there's metaphysical, which is of the mind. So it's beyond or behind, what's behind the physical. So your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, what you think about, your attitudes, this sort of stuff. That's metaphysical energy. And the other one was your what was it now? Oh, yes, basically your cash energy. And this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize. But cash, money, is just another form of energy. Yeah. If you think about paying someone else to do work for you, mm-hmm. what are you actually paying for? You're paying for their energy. Yeah. So it's just a medium of exchange, right? To use someone else's energy to do a certain task. That's that's all it is. So that's what money can do. It's just an exchange of energy. That's all it is. So you got cash energy, physical energy, metaphysical energy, and all three of those things contribute towards your energy levels, your overall energy levels.
Yes.
The value, and then each one of them break down further into different circles. So there's the value one, which is the value one. I'll just maybe explain the first one is. The first circle is made out of three more, which is I used to call it the founder's drive, but it's made out of play, passion, and purpose. And that's a really important one. That's the one that drives the whole value creation part of this model. Okay. So play is all about getting into flow, into your natural flow state. Passion is basically, it's really simple. It's purely just an area of interest, a topic of interest. That's all it is. It's not complicated. It's just you're either interested in cars.
Instead of something you're pushing into.
Yeah, you can become interested in something as well. But the point is that it's an area of interest. It's not a woo-woo, feel-good thing. It's just, look, for example, difference between me and my brother, I'm not interested in cars. Yeah. He is. Yeah. So I could say, I'm not passionate about cars. He is. Yeah. That's all it is. That's all that passion means. A lot of people get confused with what it means.
Yeah.
Then the third one is purpose, and the purpose one is an interesting one because that talks about the why. Why you're doing what you're doing, and when you get that one right, everything changes as well. Because then it's not about you anymore. The purpose is very much related to contribution to others. So when you've got that figured out, those three things aligned, your play, passion, and purpose, then that's like that kickstarts the whole value creation thing in your life, where you can then create value. And like we all want to feel valuable, right? And this is how we feel valuable by doing that.
Yeah, and
sorry, I can talk about this for days, man. So just stop me.
No, man. Well, that's what it's all about. The daily B is talking about believing in yourself and in your greatness, expressing yourself authentically, and evolving consciously. And we've tapped on all three of them. And the more clear I become in my purpose, in my passion, the more conversations I draw out like this from people that just are there to serve that as well, to co-create and collaborate with me, to share this with other people, because like we said earlier, it is all about, there is so many people that are stuck in that deep depressive states, in the places of no fun and play, passionless, purposeless, and it's not through lack of trying or lack of want, but it's a lot of the time it's just through lack of understanding or lack of being had information put in front of them. So the more we can just share and open up about what has helped us get there, because so much of what you're saying resonates with me, and I've been doing work, personal development work, and asking the deeper questions for quite some time. But again, it's still that cycle, the hero's journey and the spiral is constant reaffirming and tapping back into the fundamentals, but also coupling them with these deeper metaphysical sort of understandings of energy and ourselves, of what we are and who we are, because life is a fractal. You can look at the stars and there's 0.0001% things there, and just like that's with us as well, like we're 99.999% nothingness. So when you start to really understand things in terms of energy and vibration, I don't know if you've read the Power versus Force book by David Hawkins, or the Kabbalion as well, but they just marry each other well like that.
Yeah. No, I started reading it. I didn't finish it, but I read his other one about letting go, which is amazing.
Yeah, my mom read that one.
But also just what you were saying, like, about energy and frequency. I mean, I think Tesla said that, right? Like how you can basically understand the whole universe if you understand energy, frequency, and vibration. Yeah, those things. So, which is really interesting, which is, by the way, just to come full circle, is actually the equation for power.
Yeah.
Because energy, there's the first one.
Yep.
And frequency, vibration, it's the same thing. It's just movement of energy. What else is it? So those two things multiply together.
I think frequency is the pace or the amount of vibration, like and then the vibration is the vibration. As opposed to
right. It's correct. It's just two different words for the same thing. It's the movement. That's the movement of energy.
Yeah.
So that really is the ultimate. To me, that is the ultimate equation of power. And Tesla already said it. I mean, and it's so interesting that Tesla was the electricity guy, right? Which is all about power, natural power. And that is so cool. So, and what's really exciting about it is that we all have access to it. It's just a matter of realizing that it's all around us. And the only reason, if we don't feel like we have power in our lives, is because we've either screwed with our energy source, or we are not letting that energy flow properly. There's some blockages for making the energy flow. It's as simple as that. You can analyze everything. So it pops up everywhere. A very common one, for example, is knowledge is power. No, it's not. It's only knowledge that is being used, knowledge that's been applied. Yeah. So knowledge in motion. That is power, right? Yeah. Money is another one. Saving money in the bank. Are you powerful when you got money in the bank?
Nope.
Well, no, it's got zero power in the world at the moment when it's sitting in the bank. Yeah. It's only when that money gets used that it turns into something powerful. Same with your talents. If you've got a lot of talents and you're just sitting there with it and not doing anything with it, you're not making it move. You're not taking action on it. Your impact in the world is zero.
Yeah.
So you've got to make it move. You've got to make it flow. You've got to find out what are those energy sources, and then make them move. Remove the blockages. Remove whatever is restricting that flow. Yeah. And you'll see when those things start flowing, when energy starts flowing in your life, it doesn't matter what kind of energy, you become powerful. And the more of those blockages you remove, the more powerful you become, in a good sense, not in a manipulative sense, in a good sense, like in a sense where you can live your ultimate life, where you can do the things that you're called to do, and you can do it in such a way that it really serves the world and make the world a better place. And you're happy as a result. It makes you happy the more you do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so obviously the physical ways of increasing our energy, how we're sleeping, the things we're eating, getting our bodies moving, are things. But do you have anything that you'd pass on to people when it comes to the blockage of energy and flow as well, things that may have helped you in the past that you've done?
Well, it's easy to tell when there's a blockage. You can just tell there's no flow. There's no action. There's nothing happening. Like for example, if you feel like you don't have any physical energy, like you just want to sit down and watch TV all day long, there's a problem with what you're doing with the energy there, that physical energy. So you need to change it. So you need to go exercise to get it moving, right? You need to eat the right food to help get rid of any toxins in your body, right? So because toxins and whatever else just block up your body. I'm no expert when it comes to food and stuff like that, but it's just what makes sense to me, to my little science brain.
Yeah.
So and that same sort of principle applies to everything. If it's not performing, if the light's not shining through, if it's not happening for you, there's some sort of blockage, and you just gotta find that blockage and figure out a way to remove the blockage and to get that energy flowing again. And yeah, sweet.
Beautiful. And what about with respect to the contribution and the impact, the purpose? Can you touch on how, I guess, when you got clear on your impact and contribution that you want to have, and just the power that gave you and the flow that allowed you to have as well?
Yes, absolutely. That's a big one, man. That's massive, because I think I haven't done a survey or anything, so I don't know, but just having a guess, I would say the vast majority of people live on the, I don't want to label it right or wrong, but let's say it on the one side of the coin, where they are unconsciously driven by the desires of the self.
Yeah.
Okay. They might not even realize it. Like consciously, they might be thinking they're doing good service to the world, but subconsciously or unconsciously, they're being driven by desire that the self wants, the egoic self, not the true inner self, the egoic self. So, for example, in my case, it was the drive for significance, the drive to feel significant, and secondarily connection and connected. So unconsciously, everything I was doing was to help me feel more significant or more connected. I didn't even realize this. Consciously, I was doing projects where I thought, hey, I'm doing the world a good service here. I'm a good person, whatever. But subconscious, I was still driven by this desire to feel significant, to feel worthy, and to feel connected, right? So that was my drives. Then the shift came when I realized those were unconscious drives.
Yeah.
Where I realized that my past why has always been about getting that for myself. So every project that I did was about that. Every single decision I made was about that. The food I ate was about that. The clothes I bought was about that. The friends I made was about that. The kind of car that I bought was about that. I didn't even realize that. It was so unconscious.
Yeah.
But the day that I realized that became a conscious thing for me, oh, holy shit. Is this why I've been doing everything I've been doing? And is this why I've never been able to feel fulfilled? Because those things, when it's for the self, it's never attainable. You can never get enough of it. Yes. You can never get enough significance for the ego. Yeah. The ego always wants more. You can never get enough money for the ego. You can never get enough connection for the ego. Yeah. So in and of themselves, these things are not bad, by the way. But I think when it comes from the ego, it has a negative flavor to it. It has a flavor that makes you unhappy. So the shift comes when you realize, hey, it's not about you or getting those things for yourself. So all these things you've been searching for all your life are actually the thing or the things that you're supposed to be giving away to others. So then it turns to contribution. So for me now, it's not about searching for significance for myself anymore. Now it's about finding ways and desiring to build significance and connection for others. And that's then where it creates this feedback loop of fulfillment and happiness. And it's a beautiful thing. So, yeah.
Man, you're putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
How does that feel? How does it feel here, sitting here, being able to speak like this on life and on topics like this?
It feels good, man. It feels really, really good. I mean, by no means do I have all my shit together. I mean, and I think that goes for everybody.
Nor ever will we, 100%.
Yeah. Where did I say? Oh, yeah. Dan Norris posted about this, and he got this from an article or something, a book. I can't remember who the original person was who said this now, but basically it was along the lines of no one knows anything, and I think to the same degree, no one has their shit together. Like sometimes you might, at least no one has their shit together all the time, right? So you go through cycles. Some days you feel on top of the world, and some days you don't. And so I think that's important to realize that you might see someone else, you think they've got it together, and they don't really, or they might have it together today, but not tomorrow, or they didn't have it together 3 days ago or 6 months ago. So, so I think there's always something to be learned. There's always a new journey to go on. There's new challenges to be faced.
That's
and
the
it's
spiral
like,
you spoke about as well. Like, it doesn't matter how
it's a
many
spiral.
loops you do.
Absolutely.
There's always another one waiting for you.
That's right. The spiral continues until you're in your grave, and maybe it keeps continuing after that. I don't know. I haven't been there yet, but while I'm alive, it's kind of fun. And I think with each new cycle, there's new challenges that are harder than the previous cycle. But now you're better prepared because you've been through the previous one. You've graduated. You've got new tools, new strengths, new abilities, new skills to be able to handle a bigger challenge that will allow you to move up to the next level.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. I feel like this is a beautiful natural point to conclude on, but what would be something that if you had a megaphone to get in every leader of the world or every person's ear in the world, what would be something that you'd really love to share with them?
I don't know, man. Like I don't know if I have anything to share, really. I think I think what people have, though, is that there's a lot of wisdom that can come from the inside, and it's so easy for us to always be looking outside of ourselves for advice and for whatever it is. And I think there's a lot to be said about finding that wisdom from within, and that means you've got to sometimes stop listening to people. and just dig in deep there and figure out what it is that you are about. Not necessarily what you want or from a selfish perspective, but realizing what really drives you, and figuring out how you can use that for contributing to other people's lives. Like that, the one sentence that sums it up for me is that, and Baz Gardner, a friend of mine, helped me get to this point. The thing that you've been searching for all your life, that very thing is the same thing that you're supposed to be giving away to other people. And that's where true fulfillment and happiness comes from.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
A great conversation.
Yeah, it's good fun, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, thanks for dropping all those nuggets and for just being here. And guys, thanks for tuning in. Connect with Gideon. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and iTunes. And, yeah, definitely connect with Gideon for more of his awesomeness. Get in touch with Splaseo if you're someone that's putting out content or just wanting assistance in growing your business and getting your impact out there, because he has the ability to have that ripple effect in your networking community globally as well. So, mate, I'm looking forward to doing more work with you, connecting with you personally, and yeah, we'll see where the wind blows us.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for the time, and it was really cool chatting to you and to everyone watching and listening. Thank you so much.
Cheers. See you later, guys. Take it easy.